So the president in the middle of this, it's sort of like a G7 or what they're calling a G6+1, with the United States being the odd man out and the target of a lot of criticism from colleagues who say he is going too far, putting on tariffs or threatening to his friends. Let's get the read from the former State Department official, Anja Manuel. Anja, very good to have you back.
Thank you.
You know what I didn't realize, Anja, and you know this better than I, presidents have routinely had problems with our friends, and more pointedly the Canadians, taking them to the World Trade Organization or other entities because they don't play fair. Barack Obama, quite a few times when it came to everything from lumber to American winemakers who felt that they were not getting a fair shake selling their product in Canada, British Columbia, more to the point. What makes this impasse different?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Neil. I would say everyone needs friends, including a powerful country like the United States. So when we have disputes with our allies and friends, as we often do, you keep them quiet and behind the scenes, and you don't let them explode out into public the way this has happened. We should be working with our allies, especially the Europeans and Canadians, to push back against the biggest mercantilist of all, China, rather than picking a fight with them.
But, you know, a lot of these cozy trade deals that some of these countries have with us, including Canada, including Mexico, including many of the European Union countries, now these have evolved over decades, as you've reminded me in the past, and even the present participants at these meetings probably don't even know the details, but they've happened. And that this president, maybe unlike his predecessors, maybe unwisely, unlike his predecessors, is choosing to give it a megaphone. Now, what's the proper approach to take, or what are they urging him to take?
There has certainly been protectionism, both by the Europeans and by the Canadians. You know, we in the U.S. have been guilty of it to protect some of our industries as well. I think the WTO is still the #1 body to go through, and then private, quiet, behind-the-scenes negotiations. You can be tough. You just don't let it spill out in public, because it makes us look bad, and it makes us, the United States, the odd man out, when actually China should be the odd man out.
Do you think that there's a method to this, though, on the part of the president, Anja, that he is sending as much a message to the Chinese, look how I get tough with my friends, just take a gander how I'll treat you?
I don't want to speculate on what the president's thinking is, but I think the message he's sending in this case in particular is not very helpful. And you can see that by the Republican senators getting worried. Senator Corker has introduced legislation that would get Congress involved on the steel and aluminum tariffs. Other Republican senators this week urging the president to ratchet down the rhetoric, the angry rhetoric against our closest friends in the world.
But what if it works, Anja? I know unusual and unorthodox the approach. If he can get the other side, or sides in this case, to your point, to give us something to avoid those tariffs in the first place, and they never have to come to pass, what would you think of that?
I hope it works. But I think, having dealt a lot with the Europeans and the Canadians, including at my time at the State Department, what works best usually is to have a quiet conversation behind the scenes with friends.
But Anja, there's nothing quiet about this president or quiet about his approach. But he will argue, and economic numbers seem to bear it out, that whatever he's doing is working. What do you think?
The economy is certainly doing well. I think the jury is very much out on trade and whether we're actually going to get better trade deals. I know on NAFTA, for example, some substantial progress has been made. That agreement does have to be updated. We do need protections for U.S. workers, but there's also at some point where you need to have a little give and take rather than just blowing the whole thing up. So I hope we can get back to those more constructive conversations.
All right, Anja, very good getting your read on this. Let's say the hope cooler heads prevail and we don't come to a trade war with each other. Anja Manuel.